been given alpha access for Football Manager 26, and that can only mean one thing. It's time to begin my managerial journey in the new era of Football Manager, and I've decided to take on the challenge of managing Arsenal to win their first Premier League trophy in over 20 years. However, it's not even day one yet, and I've already discovered something in the game that's making me very sad. Now, I don't know what Football Manager are playing with, but for some reason I can add makeup to my manager, which, you know, that's a choice that you can make should you wish to, but I can't wear a hat. Why can't I put... It's 2025, Football Manager 26. How is my manager able to put makeup on and still we can't put a hat on him? I'm fuming. Tony Pulis, Thomas Tuchel, Jurgen Klopp, they're all livid. We want hats in the game. Either way, though, we have become the manager of Arsenal. We can already see this looks rather impressive. We're getting closer and closer. We've already seen some cutscenes. I'd love to see more in the game with things like this. Board expectations are in the Premier League to also be challenging for the Premier League title, which I would also expect to in season number 1 and reach the latter stages of the Champions League. Now, of course, one of the brand new features of FM26, and probably the most exciting one outside of the actual match graphics, is the in and out of possession tactics. So we're going to set up our first ever tactic here as Arsenal manager, also looking at what we're going to be starting outside of having the ball. So out of possession, what shape we're going to do, and obviously let's not be boring. Let's try something here. Let's see if we can see it in and out of possession and see if we can actually get something to work. So I've set our in possession tactic as a 4-2-3-1. I think Arsenal's team really makes that quite easy, but I've gone out of possession in more of a flat 4-4-2, which would mean our attacking midfielder, likely to be Martin Odegaard, would push up alongside Victor Gyökeres, and I've got him as sort of like this tracking centre forward. So obviously a lot of new player roles have come into the game, but as you can see the example, he tracks back and supports the defence. So my thinking is he'll push up higher, but then also do all that sort of like tracking alongside a SF or S, which is a splitting outlet centre forward. It's going to take a while to get used to these acronyms, but the idea is that he plays on the fact of in between a centre back and a full back, which we know Victor Gyökeres is very quick and very strong. I think that he's quite good at that anyway. So tracking wide midfielders out of possession so they track back and support the defense. Yeah, we'll get used to it, these new player roles eventually and in time, but for now, I'm going to see how this plays out. One of the other great things that I love about this new tactic thing is the ability to see where your average positions should be due to the instructions you're giving the players and their player roles when a ball is in a certain area of the pitch. So in possession, if the ball was in that top left position, this is roughly where the players should be looking to be. Obviously, if Martinelli's got the ball out here, it might be slightly different, and that gives you an example of everywhere on the pitch. And there's obviously 9 different places where you can put the ball here, and it will give you an idea, as well as out of possession. There's our 4-4-2 that I've asked it to do out of possession. If it's on the right hand side, Victor Gyökeres track across, Odegaard stays more central. Same again on the left, but he doesn't go as high because again we've asked him to be that tracking centre midfielder. This is something that's been put into the game that I absolutely love. However, the one thing I don't love is the instructions. If we are going to the instructions, I dislike this. I think using the pitch that we had previously was easier to understand. It's going to take some getting used to see what all of these icons, or to remember what all these icons are. Whereas I think previous iterations of Football Manager, the way that they displayed the team instructions was just easier to understand. But that's just my opinion. We only have £23 million in the transfer budget, so I don't think we will dip into buying players this summer, but this squad is good enough to compete already, so maybe in January or the season after should we fail to lift the title in season 1. Pre-season was well underway though, as we look to implement our possession-based style of play on the team, and it's time to enjoy those brand new FM26 graphics. Our key players to highlight starts off with probably our best player in Bukayo Saka, who very much is a world-class winger. Declan Rice as our progressive defensive midfielder looks really strong, of course, and will be the engine for us this season. But the goals we hope will come from this man, new signing Victor Gyökeres, who certainly has the pace, strength and finishing ability to get 25 plus goals this season should we supply him well. Pre-season friendlies was over and the Premier League season was upon us, and of course it's a trip to Old Trafford to start things off for us this season. A contest with one of our biggest rivals who, let's face it, are rather unpredictable at this point. And it was a very entertaining first half where Patrick Dorgu put down the left-hand side, punished us early, finding Mason Mount to break the deadlock. But our creative ability on the ball is always one of our strongest assets, and a beautifully worked move seeing Ødegaard equalise soon after. We did have our complications with the ball too though, as United's press caught us off guard and we had to rely on a great save. Our next opportunity on goal came off the back of a Manchester United corner, where we countered so fast with Saka, who found Eze and he flashed one past the goal. Unfortunately, there was one big opportunity left in the game and the home side took advantage and Sesko tapped in the winner. We followed that up with a 3-2 victory in the league against Leeds United. And a side note, I wish there wasn't so much wasted space on this page. But we followed that with a trip to Anfield, where we took the lead through Bukayo Saka with another wonderfully worked goal. However, they pulled it back and went on to win 3-1. So it hasn't been the best of starts for us. Obviously, 2 losses from our first 3 games is not title contender worthy, if I'm honest. Bukayo Saka's having a good time though. But this loss against Liverpool was one of those ones where we took the lead, it looked promising, and then everything just completely changed as soon as that happened. I really dislike this page. I think there's so much that you could actually put into it and make it look a little bit more appealing than what it is, because right now it's so bland and boring. The bookmarks is good though. This little tab up here, you could have 12 out of 12 up there, because I've ended up using this a lot more than what I've used the portal, and I've really only used the portal if I want to go to tactic and recruitment, because it's literally just there rather than trying to remember which bookmarks which. It's just going to take some getting used to. But again, the new UI is one of those things which hopefully over the years will get better and better. It's just right now a lot of it I think it just needs a little bit of oomph to it. This just looks really bland and boring. What wasn't boring though was the football we played in the following match against Nottingham Forest. We really opened them up with Ødegaard out injured. Eze stepped up and played excellent. Forest did pull one back to frighten us at 2-1, but Gyökeres dispatched a penalty to make it 3. And this set us up perfectly for our next match, where 18-year-old left-back Miles Lewis-Skelly absolutely shone. His drive and determination rewarded him to score the first goal of the game down the left-hand side, and he even played a big part in the second goal, assisting Martinelli. It stayed 2-0 for another 30 minutes until Omar Marmoush finally brought City onto the scoresheet, but all they did was wake the beast, as we finished the game off in dominant fashion, scoring 3 more goals and 2 from the current league's best player Bukayo Saka, and another one for Eze, who's enjoying his spell in the team. And that has certainly made things interesting in the Premier League, giving City their first loss as they sit joint top with United, but only a point ahead of us. A week later, and we have a big game against Newcastle where both Raya and Martinelli are unavailable. Raya's actually out for 3 to 5 weeks as well, but one positive is Ødegaard is fit enough to make the bench. Lewis-Skelly was a demon once again though, setting up Eze's goal, but this time we couldn't snatch all 3 points at Newcastle, who equalised to make it 1-1. I wanted to give Nwaneri some game time too, and the Champions League fixture against Barcelona was the right time. We were resting Saka, and it was still an incredibly big game in the Champions League phase against a formidable side with some scary players under Hansi Flick. But again, it was a chance for us to enjoy the new Unity graphic and matchday experience in the Champions League. It was just a shame that we couldn't bring our A game on the night and slightly missed out to the Catalonian side, who defeated us 2-1 with goals from Lewandowski, Lamine Yamal and Martinelli all in the first half of the match. Even still, after our tricky start to the season, I was awarded the Manager of the Month for September. And in October, Declan Rice and the lads, including again Lewis-Skelly, who was absolutely incredible, continued to get better and better and really grind out some great wins, winning every single match throughout the month, including 4 Premier League fixtures and 1 against Benfica in the Champions League, and that's really helped our title push. We're now only a point behind City, who are top after 10 games. But with a tricky November with games against Spurs, Chelsea and Atletico Madrid, including Sunderland away, I didn't know how long this winning run would last. And to my shock, it was a lot longer than I thought. We simply became incapable of doing anything else other than winning games of football. Death, taxes and Arsenal winning 3 points was what the crowd was cheering, and in the Champions League we were absolutely formidable against Atletico Madrid, winning 7-0 at the Emirates. I'm genuinely unsure how we're doing it. I mean, the Monaco game was kind of the worst game and we still won 2-1, and well, we had to come from behind, but it was still comfortable. I mean, 4-0 against Sunderland, 4-2 against our rival Spurs with a Bukayo Saka hat-trick as well. Then following that with a 7-0 against Atletico and a 2-0 away win against Chelsea, which obviously means in the Premier League, we are now sitting top. We are 31 points. Liverpool are actually in second because Manchester City have lost another game and dropped more points. We're 4 points clear of them and 2 points clear of Liverpool. So we continue going into every fixture with the confidence of getting the win. And just 2 games later, the first time that we don't win a game, we of course get battered 4-0 by Villa, who for some reason had Morgan Rogers running around in his tracksuit still. Which is your reminder that of course this is running on the alpha build, and hopefully all of these things can be ironed out before we get the full release. We did follow that up with a win against Bayern Munich 3-1 and a rare goal from Victor Gyökeres. And I say rare because he's only got 9 goals so far for us this season as our penalty taker as well in 25 games, while Saka has been phenomenal with 20 goals and 11 assists. But with 3 winless games in the Premier League in a row and maybe 3 teams you'd expect to beat, we've fallen off the top spot in this title race down into 3rd place. But we've gone into January and they've just updated our budgets to £170 million in the transfer kitty. Now, there are a couple of positions that I do think desperately need an upgrade. I mean, the goalkeeper's one. David Raya's done all right for us. I just don't know if I trust him enough in goal. He does make some good saves, but also CDM is another place. I know we've got Zubamendi, we've got Mikel Moreno, but as good as Declan Rice, maybe not. Gyökeres has been a disappointment, but I don't want to give up on him yet. I still think he is good enough. And then possibly the fullbacks. I mean, Lewis Skelly is kind of the guy that I want to be here for the rest of the season, for whenever he's available, to be honest. But Jurrien Timber's not too bad, but he's not amazing. And obviously putting Ben White is a bit of a step down. So possibly a right back. I might go for a goalkeeper and a world-class right back if there is one available for us. The goalkeeper replacement was an easy one because my scouts have been non-stop recommending for me Gregor Kobel, who is a step up from Raya but also has a release clause of £48 million, which I think is a really reasonable price for a goalkeeper of his calibre, and I was happy to make that offer to Dortmund. Transfers in wasn't the only thing on the agenda, as we had a bid for Kai Havertz from Manchester United for £50 million, which I accepted straight away, and that pays for Kobel immediately. But after another loss in the league to Bournemouth, we have our new goalkeeper joining the club. And his first game of the season is Liverpool in the Premier League at the Emirates, which went to the 95th minute at 1-1, where we were awarded a penalty taken by Gyökeres and scored by Gyökeres to give us the 3 points. And that was enough for Kai Havertz to decide to reject Manchester United to stay with us at Arsenal. And this all kept the title picture really interesting as we jumped to second ahead of Villa and Liverpool and just a point again behind Manchester City. The right back situation was a tough one because there was a problem with the only player that I felt was worth paying lots of money for. That being that he's just not a subscriber to the Omega Luke channel. So it's a problem that you've also got to solve as well. I considered switching to find a world-class defensive midfielder too, but João Neves, who is amazing, was valued slightly too high for my liking. Sandro Tonali, however, was definitely possible, and also an incredible player to potentially bring in, and it was possible because of a £94 million release clause. Now, what is really interesting is this new transfer room feature that Football Manager have put into FM26. It took me a while to find it, but under recruitment, you'll have to go, and I found it over here, more, transfer room out. Now, this is opportunities to sell our players, and you're going through here, and you can see all of these clubs and what they potentially want, and obviously the playing time. And I've just noticed Juve are looking for an attacking midfield left. We've got a few of them. So Leandro Trossard is a similar player. So I actually think we might be able to get rid of Leandro Trossard to them if possible. It might be a deal that we might be able to get over the line through this new thing that Football Manager's got. I just need to work out how. Until I work out whether that worked, we get the Sandro Tonali deal over the line, and we can confirm he is indeed also an Omega Luke subscriber, helping me get to 200k subs before Christmas. His first game in an Arsenal shirt was a cracking win over Manchester United, where after rejecting a move from them, Kai Havertz actually scored the winner. The Champions League phase was done, and we were flying in that as well, with City and Liverpool close by, with our only loss to Barcelona. February February in the league brought us a 1-1 draw with Spurs, both from the penalty spot, and a 2-2 draw with Chelsea, where Victor Gyökeres got himself on the score sheet alongside the Tracksuit Mafia. But a difficult month, which also included a very late loss to Brentford, and the Premier League title race is so tight between the top four really, with just 10 games left. March came, however, and we dropped 4 more points with another 2 bad draws. And I was starting to worry that our dip in form would cost us badly, with Liverpool continuing to be really strong, opening up a 4-point gap of their own at the top of the league. The Champions League, however, needed a massive second leg win against Atletico Madrid to see us progress through to the quarterfinals. And we've got Manchester City in the next round as well as in the league right after during April, which is overall a really tricky month. We eased through the Champions League with a comfortable 3-1 aggregate win over City, following it up with a huge 4-2 win at the Etihad after going 1-0 and 2-1 down. The wins kept coming, and we even crept back to the top of the league while we wait for Liverpool to play their game in hand. Games in the Champions League was also coming in thick and fast, and it was a semi-final first leg against Spurs where Bukayo Saka scored an unbelievable individual goal. And on the replay, you can see how the new FM26 mechanics, where he stands up the defender once, knocks it past him, then cuts inside to the other to smash in a beautiful goal. And after that 1-0 win, he also scored in the 2-0 victory over Fulham in the Premier League too. So we are well and truly on form right now, with just 3 games potentially away from winning the Premier League, and a second leg in the semi-final of the Champions League where we are 1-0 up against our biggest rivals. And the big game against Spurs in the second leg of the semi-final was up next. Our North London rivals in the game that sends the winner through to the biggest game in either club's existence potentially. Nothing beats a Champions League night when so much is on the line. And it was only within 5 minutes that Bukayo Saka started to shine and scare the Tottenham defence again down that right hand side. From the resulting goal kick, he was also given another chance when Eze was brought down by Porro, gifting us a free kick on the edge of the area, which Saka stepped up to take but couldn't find the target. Obviously, with our goal advantage from the first leg, Spurs needed to do something, and we had to rely on our new goalkeeper Cabell to make a big save to keep us ahead in the tie. The Spurs got their first opportunity 8 minutes in. They took control of the game and had way more shots, but there's always set pieces that we know Arsenal are very good from to keep them on their toes. Into the second half, and the game was incredibly cagey. Spurs were winning second balls though, and unleashed Brennan Johnson down the left hand side, who did so well, but once again Cabell was there for the save. Time ticked away really slowly it seemed for us, but our defence continued to handle everything that Spurs had, and even in the 5 minutes of injury time, they couldn't create a worthy opportunity. Time was up, and Arsenal are going to the Champions League final. Back in the Premier League, and Liverpool lost to Chelsea. However, we only managed to draw after battering West Ham all game because of a late James Ward-Prowse equaliser. We still sit top of the league, but if Liverpool win their game in hand, they go above us on goal difference only, which they managed to do with a win over Crystal Palace before also winning the FA Cup against Manchester City. We regained temporary top spot back from them with a 3-0 win over Burnley, with Lewis Skelly as the orchestrator, again winning man of the match. Now again, remember, this is the alpha and there are going to be some kind of bugs and problems, and we do have one here. In the most dramatic final day of the season, it technically isn't the final day of the season because we are about to play Crystal Palace in our last Premier League game, and we've played 37 and Liverpool's only played 36. Obviously, if they win their game, they go above us, but if we're looking at Liverpool's fixtures, they play Aston Villa on Tuesday. They play their last game 2 days after we play ours, and that's frustrating. Now, we could still clinch the title if we win and Liverpool don't beat Brentford at home, but our opponents are Palace and they're trying to stop themselves from being relegated as well. It ain't looking good for Crystal Palace though, as within 6 minutes, Lewis Skelly again pulls it back to Tonali to make it 1-0. And the left back was truly on fire as he was set free down the left hand side, and this time instead of pulling it back, he just smashed it in for himself for 2-0. Meanwhile at Anfield, the score was still 0-0 and currently we would be lifting the Premier League League trophy. The game here was just over before halftime too, as Ødegaard followed his pass through to Saka and retrieved it off of the challenge to smash in a third. We made 5 subs to rest players for the Champions League final, and still Palace couldn't muster a single shot, while all eyes were on the scorer at Anfield. Palace finally had an opportunity to score with their first shot on target from a corner, and they did. It's 3-1. But a cheer just as loud came up from the away end, because a goal for Brentford was scored at Liverpool. More bad news for Palace, as Michael Oliver points to the spot, confirmed by VAR, and it's a penalty kick dispatched perfectly by Martin Ødegaard to make it 4-1. Time ticked away and the score at Anfield stayed 1-0 to Brentford, and that's just what we wanted to see. And Arsenal are crowned Premier League champions for the first time in over 20 seasons. Of course, the season isn't over quite yet. Don't forget, we have the biggest game in Arsenal's history next, with the Champions League final against PSG. And one more win, and we become a legend here at Arsenal within just one season. Alright, we are underway in this Champions League final, and Miles Lewis-Skelly on the ball, and that excites me because of how good he is. But now, he's out of position, and within 2 minutes, Hakimi, who we were going to sign, has set up Barcola. No. I remember we had good reason for not signing Hakimi. He wasn't subscribed to the Omega Luke channel, and that's the reason why we went with Tonali instead, who has been amazing, but he's missing this final. That's not a good start for us in a Champions League final, to be losing 1-0 within 2 minutes. Oh, they're back on the attack as well. Kvaratskhelia. Good tackle from Timber, but still hasn't got it. I do feel like wing play in this. Oh God, Hakimi. He would be the worst person ever. He's had a shot. Cabell's made his save. Cabell's been fantastic. Out of the signings that we have made in January, Cabell has been astronomically so much more of an influence than I ever thought he would be. Every game since we've had Cabell has just felt like we've kept way more clean sheets, and defence has been so much stronger. We are also taking a big risk today. Victor Gyökeres is playing his first game in about 2 months after being out injured. So it's good to see him back, but we kind of had to because we just don't have a striker else. It was either that or playing Eze up front. He's done well there. Saka. Lewis-Skelly. Yeah. Martin Ødegaard. I thought it was Gyökeres. I was about to get really excited, but Martin Ødegaard scores the equaliser just before the half-hour mark. And in the Champions League final, we got our game on our hands now. This was beautifully done by Zubamendi. What a ball that is. And Lewis-Skelly again with another assist. A perfect cross. It does seem like I'm seeing that goal quite often. They get to the byline, cut one back, and a midfielder or the strikers running in and scoring it. I don't care. I'll take this one. Doué is going to take the corner for PSG. Bangs it in. Headed out by Saliba. Lobotka finds Fabian. Kvaratskhelia back out to Doué. He's got loads of time. Close him down. That's Martin Ødegaard. He just didn't even bother. If anything, he was like running backwards. It's 2-1. Let's watch this replay. I am pretty sure just allows him to carry on going and have a shot. No press whatsoever. He's dropped off out there. There he goes. Go on, Doué. What foot would you like to go on? I'll turn my back and allow you to shoot. That is abysmal defending. Well, all we can hope is that we pull it back again, but PSG are on the counter, and Kvaratskhelia got it. Back out to Hernandez. Wing play so good on this. Players who can dribble are so good on this. We've seen how good both Lewis-Skelly and Saka has been this season, and it looks like Kvaratskhelia is going to be exactly the same. If you've got somebody who is good at running with the ball and you play him as like an inside forward, they are so dangerous because of this new way of the match engine and like that new movement that they do. They just look like they're untouchable in key highlights. PSG catching us again on the counter. There's Kvaratskhelia. There he is. He's had a shot. Blazed past our post. Coming close to the hour mark now. We need a goal to get us back into this. But it's been all PSG in the second half. They are the Champions League winners from last season for a reason. Desiree Doué looks really good too. As does João Neves. And there is a third. And our dream of potentially winning the Champions League with Arsenal might just be over right now. João Neves, who again we were really interested in signing, and if it wasn't for the fact that he was probably overpriced by about 20 or 30 million pounds, I didn't really want to go through the installments, but we went for Tonali instead to make it easier. He might be wearing an Arsenal shirt in this final instead of the PSG one. 10 minutes go, and we do need a bit of a miracle now. We need 2 goals. We need the likes of Miles Lewis-Skelly on the ball and Bukayo Saka, who has been a revelation. But instead, Kvaratskhelia is barreling down past Jurrien Timber, and there he is. And it's 4. It's Desiree Doué. Does he stray outside? I thought that come off Lewis-Skelly's back. But apparently that's going to go in as Desiree Doué's goal. Unless VAR rules this one out and we'll wait. It's a goal. It's 4-1. It's game over, isn't it? Well, the 4 minutes of added on time is nearly done in this Champions League final. We got so close, but we are Premier League winners. But unfortunately for us, the Champions League, remember this is the Alpha, the Champions League trophy is going to be lifted by PSG once again. As unfortunately for us, with Arsenal, we got all the way to the final, but we couldn't become an overnight legend, winning the Premier League and the Champions League within the same week. Congratulations to PSG, but I hope you enjoyed this Alpha look at the new FM26. I must say, the more I'm playing it, the more I'm enjoying it. Once those little bugs and stuff are fixed, we could be on for a fantastic game, because things like this does look really good. And on screen right now, I've done a video where I've highlighted the 7 levels of an FM26 save, from easiest to hardest, and giving you examples. That's a video on screen that I think you should select before you pick up FM26.